Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Emma, aka Swedish Whiskey Girl, and today I'm back with two whiskies that I've been waiting to open for quite a long time now. So back in February, I went up to Locker with some friends to go visit some distilleries, and one of the distilleries we managed to go to was Blair Athol. They have this wonderful distillery, and one of the greatest things about it is that they have a mash tun bar, basically a bar made from an old mash tun. And when we were there, we tried some different expressions. And one of my friends, Nicola, she ordered this one, the Johnnie Walker Song of Ice. And I was a bit skeptical before, because I wasn't that big a Game of Thrones fan, and the only reason I actually managed to watch it was I'd had so many friends who were talking about it. And they were talking about it so often, and I just sat there and couldn't take part in the conversation at all, which I absolutely hated. So I was like, oh, I'll just go home and watch it. But I'm not the biggest fan of kind of violence or something scary or brutality, so I can't say it's my favourite series, and often I would read on Wikipedia what happened beforehand, and I know it's a crime, but I was so happily surprised by these whiskies. They are, of course, Johnnie Walker Song of Ice and Song of Fire, and they're made after a collaboration between Diageo and HBO, who are the people who are making the TV series. And these two bottles are of course inspired by two of the different houses on the TV series. House Stark for Song of Ice, which has this lovely design of the North with the dire wolf on it, and then House Targaryen, which has the dragon on it, of course, and that kind of design. So Song of Ice sits at 40.2% ABV, and Song of Fire sits at 40.8% ABV. And after Nicola bought the Song of Ice, I was so surprised by it, and I absolutely loved it. And I of course had to get the Song of Fire to compare as well. And because I really liked them so much, I posted about them on my Instagram, Swedish Whiskey Girl, and a few days later, to my wonderful surprise, outside my door there was a parcel with these two waiting for me, and of course a massive thank you to the guys at Johnnie Walker. I really appreciate it, and I'm so happy I get to try them again. And of course a lot of people already know about the Johnnie Walker brand. It's a blending company who started up in Kilmarnock, and I have reviewed some of their whiskies before. If you haven't seen them yet, then feel free to check them out as well. And I do think they're a fascinating company, and they do so many interesting things, and their history is fascinating. So I'm very happy to be trying these for you today. And we're going to start with the Song of Ice, because it's not peated, which the Song of Fire is. So the Song of Ice, like I said, is inspired by the House Stark, and it has a high proportion of Clynelish malts, which is said to be the malt that most influences this blend. So let's have a little look on the nose. So lovely on the nose. It's just so sweet and so vanilla and so like icing sugar sweetness, but it's just so crisp and fresh, like honeydew melon meets a little bit of honey and maybe some kind of citrus sweets and that vanilla for sure. Yeah, I think what got me hooked on this whiskey was the nose. But let's have a taste. Slanjava. I feel like this one... So sometimes when I try a whiskey and I really get hooked on the nose and I'm like, this is wonderful, it's so nice. And then I taste it and I'm like, oh, it's nice, but it's slightly different to what I was expecting because it was such a lovely nose. This one is kind of the same. We still get that honeydew melon freshness, it's crisp, it has the icing sugar sweetness, it has vanilla. Not a lot of spice, very easygoing, very kind of dessert whiskey-esque. I, of course, don't know the ratio between the grain whiskey and the malts in this, but the way it tastes, I would kind of guess that they have a lot of lovely grain whiskey in it, because that sweetness is what I would recognise from a grain, and it might be why I'm just so taken with these. It's, yeah, I'm just in love. So it's, yeah, I really like this one. I mean, it has a hint of that tannin on the finish, but it's like so subtle. It's just so friendly and nice to you. And I mean, this, if anything, is such a dessert whiskey. Sometimes whiskey surprises me because I'm like, surely this is sweetened, but it's not. It's just wonderful. But let's compare it to the Song of Fire. So the Song of Fire sits just slightly higher in ABV than the Song of Ice. The difference is about 0.6% ABV. But this one has a higher proportion of peated malts in it, primarily from Caol Ila. So let's have a little nose. It's interesting, it still has this kind of crispness and the kind of sweetness that I kind of get on the other one. Which makes me think that it could be that grain whiskey influence that gives it that character. But it has this kind of course it has a smokiness, but I'm just trying to figure out what the smoke is, because it's not a very powerful smoke, but it's just kind of lingering in the glass, just waiting for you to discover it. Like a dragon, I guess, just hiding in its cave, waiting for you to step in, and then it'll attack you. It seems my neighbour is doing something very noisy with a machine. I don't know if it's cutting grass or something, so if you can hear it, I'm terribly sorry. But hopefully you'll hear me better than him. It has this very fresh smoke. My brain is, because I know it's Caol Ila, it's looking for Caol Ila characters, but it feels like very much more fresh and fruity smoke than your maybe typical kind of dry, ashy smoke. But let's have a little taste and see if we can find it there. Slàinte. Much more smoke on the palate, but even though the smoke has a slight character of being a little bit ashy, or maybe more towards charry than ashy, but it's slightly dry, it's still very, very fruity and very sweet. So if you gave this to me blind, I'm not sure I would have been able to guess that it's Caol Ila smoke, because I think if this is just me speculating, but if what I recognise as that grain sweetness and the grain fruitiness is mixing with the Caol Ila smoke, it makes it so much rounder and so much more juicy than Caol Ila generally is on its own. What I was so surprised by the first time I tried these in Blair Athol is that they're so juicy and crisp. And I know crisp is a word that they use it's a word they use to describe the Song of Ice, but I think both of them have such a crisp element to them. It's still that kind of vanilla, it's still very fruity, very juicy, very fresh. I mean, it's also a dessert whiskey, but I think if you might have like a chocolate dessert and something that would go well with that smoke, this one would probably be for those kind of occasions. So I'm gonna have a little sip on the Song of Ice again, because I just like it that much, but we'll see what I think. I mean, I know this might not be what everyone is expecting me to say, but I would say that the Song of Ice and Song of Fire are two of the best whiskies I've had in 2020. They're just up my street. They're the kind of sweet, crisp, desserty whiskies. They're so easy and I can just sip them whenever. And yeah, I don't think, generally when I try whiskies, I don't like saying anything bad about any whiskies, because what I think might not be what someone else thinks. So if I maybe like a whiskey less, someone else might love that whiskey because of those reasons. So what I'm trying to do here and in my channels is saying the flavours I'm getting, the notes I'm getting, talking about the history and the experience, so that people that do like that one might want to explore it. But these ones, because in other whiskies I tend to find little things that might be things that I don't tend to be drawn towards, like it might be slightly too dry, or it might be slightly too spicy, or it might be slightly too sweet, or it might be slightly too this or that, which just has to do with my personal flavour opinion, I guess. But I could see how someone might think that these whiskies are too sweet, but I think these are so approachable, so easy drinking, so lovely for any occasion. Maybe I just have a sweet tooth, but I think they're good. I think they're lovely, these two. And I wish I had some Clynelish at home so I could just compare it and see if the fruitiness and the sweetness coming from Clynelish, because I haven't had it in such a long time that I can pick it out from memory. I absolutely love these. And I'm also gonna admit that I was a little bit nervous doing this review again, because at Blair Athol I've had a few drams before, so I didn't know, because sometimes when you've had a few whiskies and your palate's used to the alcohol, whiskey will taste nicer. You might miss some of the other flavours. But I think these are exactly the same experience that I got in February at Blair Athol as I'm getting now, and I'm delighted because, yes, I really like these, and I guess you can tell, so I don't know if I'm a bit biased because I've had such a good experience with them, but I try to be very honest with you guys, and this is definitely what I like in a whiskey at the moment. But I would, of course, as always, love to hear what you think. Have you tried The Song of Ice, The Song of Fire? Perhaps you tried another of their Game of Thrones releases, because they did the whole range of single malts, and they of course did the Winter Walker. Is that what it's called? Winter Walker, Ice Walker, White Walker, maybe? That's another of their whiskies. Or perhaps one of your favourite is the classic range, the green label, the red label, the blue label, the black label, the gold label. There's so many wonderful whiskies in their range. And of course, I'd love to hear if you're Team Stark or Team Targaryen. And of course, if you like what I'm doing here and you would like to support me, I would of course be absolutely over the moon if you would consider using my affiliate links with either Master Malt, the Whisky Exchange, or SMWS. All of that information and the links are in the description below, as well as links to my Instagram, my website, and my Patreon. If you're curious about that and perhaps interested in behind the scenes and some sneak peeks. Of course, a massive thank you to my wonderful supporters on Patreon. I'm so happy you guys want to continue to support me in my whiskey journey. Thank you so much. And of course, I also now have a Teespring store, so if you're looking for any merch, any kind of whiskey inspired t-shirts, maybe a t-shirt where it says may contain whiskey, because I know I'm one person that may contain whiskey quite a lot of times. You can find that there, it's also in the description. But as always, I hope you guys will have an absolutely wonderful week and a wonderful day. Slàinte. Skål!